Hi guitar players, and welcome back to the Guitar Inspiration channel. My name is Maarten, and in this lesson I'll teach you how to play that fast ascending lick that you just heard. It's a very cool rock guitar lick in the key of B minor. It's a minor pentatonic lick actually that is built from a repeating pattern or a sequence of notes. So I'll show you how the lick is built. I'll give you the tabs on the screen. I'll talk about the picking pattern and give you some practice and performance tips so you can start adding it to your own guitar solos. If you like the content, give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you haven't already, on my channel you'll find guitar solos, backing tracks and lessons like this one. And for each lesson you can download a detailed PDF that has all the charts and tabs I use in my lessons. I'll put a link to that in the description below. All right, let's dive in. Let's take a look at the basic pattern for our lick, and you can see it on the tab below. It has 8 16th notes that are played on 2 adjacent strings. It starts on the E and A strings. And all these notes come from the B minor pentatonic that you can see on the chart on the right. You may recognize that famous, or call it infamous, box position. When you just play the scale up and down, it sounds rather bland, but by making patterns or sequences that you repeat over sets of 2 strings, like we will do in this lesson, you can play an infinite number of licks that sound much more interesting. Let's take a look at our pattern. It starts on the 7th fret on the E string, played with your first finger. Play it with a downstroke before hammering on to the 10th fret with your pinky. Next, play the 7th fret on the A string, again with your first finger. Play it twice with alternate picking, first with a downstroke and then an upstroke. So together. Next, we're back to the 10th fret on the E string, that's the pinky again, picked with a downstroke. And this time reverse the motion, so no hammer on, but a pull off back to the 7th fret. And finally play the 9th fret on the A string twice, again with alternate picking. Down, up. So the 8 notes in our pattern are these 8 16th notes all have equal duration or the same length, and make sure you don't rush the pull-offs or hammer-ons. Let's play the pattern again, but with a click track to practice this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... It's a great exercise for your pinky too, by the way. So that hammer on here on the 10th fret of the E string, that will give your pinky some strength after a while. The picking pattern for this sequence of 8 16th notes is very important, so pay special attention to where each downstroke is, where each upstroke is, where the pull-off is, where the hammer-on is, because these are not randomly chosen. I've chosen them to facilitate string crossings, to make it easier to move from one string to the next, and this will help us speed up the lick, and that's why it works at a faster tempo. Also, it's a pattern that will repeat, and in a minute I'll show you how to play that pattern on another set of 2 strings. So if you get it right the first time, it will be a lot easier down the road. Now that we know our basic pattern, our basic sequence, we know where to put our fingers, we know how to pick the strings, we can transform the pattern to the next set of 2 strings. And on the tab you can see the pattern on the A and D strings. And you can see it's almost identical. Again, we have 8th, 16th notes. We have the same picking pattern, the hammer-on, the pull-off. These are in the same places. The only difference, the only thing we have to take into account is that the 10th fret on the A string isn't part of that B minor pentatonic box, but the 9th fret is. So just replace that 10th fret that we played on the E string with our pinky with the 9th fret that we now play on the A string with our 3rd finger. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's our pattern on the A and D strings. I think you start to see where this is going. Now, before moving on, let me show you a creative way of gluing these patterns together, of sticking each head and tail of that 8th note sequence together. And I do this simply by adding a pull-off at the end of each pattern. And you can see where the arrow points is where I put that pull-off. This is one less note to pick, and this will be helpful when we're playing the lick faster. Let's play these first 2 patterns together with the pull-off and then move on to the next strings. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And you can see I played a 10th fret on the B and E strings with my 3rd finger. Instead of my pinky, my 3rd finger has more strength and I'm bending these positions a lot. So that's why I play it this way. But if you're more of a classical player, feel free to use your pinky here. So you see how we started with 8 16th notes and a specific picking pattern and how we applied that to each next set of 2 strings by following our B minor pentatonic box. Now where do we go from here? It's time for some finishing touches. In this section, I want to give you 3 pieces of advice that will help you to take our sequenced lick to the next level. 3 finishing touches, in other words. Number 1 being how to play a pattern like this clean and polished. Number 2 is when to start and end a pattern like this, considering the rhythm and the time signature of your track. And number 3 is what to play when your pattern is over. So number 1 is how to play a pattern, the sequenced lick clean and polished. And this can be challenging. Speaking from my experience, when you play these fast licks with a lot of distortion, it's difficult to play them clean and polished. Some unwanted strings may start ringing, so you get unwanted noises, and this can be frustrating. And my students often tell me it's very frustrating because you spend so much time practicing a lick, so you want the lick to sound great. You want each individual note to shine. Now, there are a few ways to overcome this problem. And for example, today I'm using a fret wrap. So this is one way to give the strings a gentle mute. A fret wrap is a string dampener that helps me to keep the strings in check so they don't ring out too long. Unwanted string noise is to some degree avoided with this. But usually when I'm playing live, I don't use these fret wraps because I'm playing rhythm guitar most of the time. Another way to solve this problem, and that's actually what I do when I'm playing live, is by giving my strings a gentle palm mute. Especially when I'm playing staccatoed notes, I'm putting the palm of my hand on the strings right before the bridge to keep these notes short and to have some control over the length of these notes. If you want, you can apply more firm pressure or move your hand more in the direction of the guitar neck for a true palm mute sound. That will make them very short, but here I'm only trying to keep things a bit clean and remove some unwanted muddiness that might happen. So that's the first tip I want to give you, that gentle palm mute. The second finishing touch is more of a creative concept. It is where to start and end a pattern or a sequenced lick like this related to the time signature of our track. So our track is in 4/4, and up until now, when we practice parts of the lick, we always started on beat 1 of the bar. But you don't have to start on beat 1. Actually, in the intro of the video, I played 2 16th notes, the first 2 notes of our pattern. I played them as a pickup, and the third 16th note landed on the first beat of the next bar. So I shifted the entire pattern a little bit forward, creating a little pickup of 2 16th notes. And this is something I like to do a lot, shifting these patterns back and forth in my time signature and seeing how it sounds. So do experiment. I do, however, recommend if you shift them back and forth, shift them in even numbers. Otherwise, you might have to rework the picking pattern. And this is something I don't like to do very much after I've learned a pattern. Finally, the final finishing touch here is what to play when your pattern is over. We've worked our way up the minor pentatonic box. We're on our E string. What to play next? You have to have something in mind to play after your pattern is over. When you play an ascending lick with all that energy mounting, you need something to release that energy. Otherwise, it won't make a lot of sense. So what I did here was I added 2 triplets. First, play the 10th fret on the E string with a downstroke. That's my 3rd finger. Then the 9th fret with an upstroke. That's my 2nd finger. And then pull off to the 7th fret. That's my index finger. Next, play the 10th fret on the B string with a downstroke. Back to the 7th fret on the E string with an upstroke. And end the lick with a full step bend from the 10th fret on the B string. And here you see why I like to play that 10th fret and that minor pentatonic box with my 3rd finger, because it sets me up to play these full step bends, and my 3rd finger combined with my 1st and 2nd finger gives me more than enough strength to perform and control these bends. Time for a workout. Now we will practice the lick together, and we will gradually increase the tempo of the lick, starting at 25 beats per minute, so very slow like earlier, and then gradually move the tempo up in steps of 10 beats per minute until we reach the tempo of the backing track, that is 140 beats per minute. If at some point it becomes too challenging for you, stop the video, write down at which tempo this occurred, for example at 95 beats per minute, and then you can practice it by yourself, for example starting at 80 beats per minute, and take smaller steps up, like 3 beats per minute, for example. There are apps out there that will do this for you. So give yourself some time to learn how to play it up to speed. Again, the picking pattern is very important to be able to play it fast. Also, it can help to tilt the pick a little bit down, so the body of the pick is tilted down and the tip of the pick is pointing at yourself. This is called down slanting. It's another technique to facilitate string crossing. So combined with the picking pattern, this will be very helpful to get this lick up to speed. That concludes our pentatonic pattern lick lesson, and I hope you enjoyed that. It's something different I haven't done yet for the channel. I did a lot of blues lick lessons, I did some smaller concept lessons, but I haven't done something like this, so I hope you enjoyed that. These patterns are something I enjoy a lot. I think a lot of musicians enjoy playing these sequences, playing these patterns. I even think that non-musicians like to hear these patterns. They are very satisfying to hear. The concept for this lesson was loosely inspired by something I heard Slash play from Guns N' Roses, but as I said, there are many players who use these sequences, and there are an infinite number of applications of this concept too. You can play long sequences, short sequences, you can play different sequences, you can transpose these sequences in other keys if you know your pentatonic scales. So it's a very creative concept, and I think these are the most valuable lessons when you're not just learning a lick, but you're learning a concept that you can do something yourself with in your own guitar solos. Practice this lick slowly with a metronome. Give yourself some time to learn to play it clean and steady, and I think this will be very rewarding in time. If you found this lesson valuable, please subscribe to the channel. You'll be joining over 1,200 of subscribers, and very grateful for all your support, your comments, your inspiring messages. That really keeps me going. So I hope we can continue moving forward with this guitar inspiration channel. If you're interested in the jam track, there's a link to that video in the description below. Also, if you're interested, you can purchase and download that jam track from my Selfie store. I'll put a link to that below as well. And after you download the track, you can use it as you wish, as you please, on your own social media channels. Also, special thanks to my supporters at buymeacoffee.com, and if you want, you can still buy me a coffee over there. That is very much appreciated. Finally, to end this lesson, I'll play the entire thing one more time, but this time with a wah effect. And since I mentioned Slash, I thought it would be fitting to use a wah effect here, because I know he likes to do that a lot, and I think it works quite well with these sequenced licks. So let me know in the comments below, what do you prefer? Do you think it's cooler with the wah effect or without? Let me know, and I'm very curious to read your comments. See you in the next lesson. Bye bye.